Morning, y'all. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your patience. Sorry for a little delay there. Had some technical hiccups, but I think we got it all straightened out. A few more folks entering. Cool. I think we got everybody. Awesome. Thanks for joining us again today for our TA Tuesday Technical Assistance Office Hours. I'm Nate Keener, CEJA Central Regional Administrator, joined by our my esteemed colleagues in the North and South, Larry Dawson and Michelle Cerruti, as well as Diana Fuller. Who else we got on the call? Probably Sarah Graham and Connor Bertrand somewhere as well. Um, Today we have a couple of topics we wanted to cover for you. One of them, the first one we're going to cover is just a very quick programmatic monitoring overview. At our last session, we had Eric Bennett from the monitoring team, who came on to talk a little bit about fiscal monitoring and what folks should be thinking about to prepare for the fiscal monitoring that will occur after that will start after the break. And we've invited Matt Hillen from the monitoring team on the programmatic side to come and talk a little bit about what to expect from that part of the monitoring. So just as a quick reminder, everybody who has a grant under CEJA will be monitored at some point, and we will kick off the first sessions of those formal monitoring events after the first of the year. I think we've got our first one set up for February, and then we'll proceed from there. I think we've got 6 or 7 grantees lined up in the spring to get monitored between February and around May. And so you should be expecting to get a letter from us about a month in advance of that monitoring session. I think those sessions will pick up again late summer, early fall for the folks that we don't capture in the first part of the spring here. Um, we will be doing some technical assistance reviews with some folks who are not part of the early spring monitoring. So either way, you'll get a letter from us letting you know that, hey, we're going to come and either have a formal monitoring session or a technical assistance kind of conversation like we did last year. So with all that said, want to turn it over to Matt Hillen, who, like I said, is going to be talking to you a little bit about what to expect from programmatic monitoring. And so I will share my screen and give Matt the floor.
Morning, everyone. I'm Matt Hillen. I am part of the uh, programs unit at DCEO. We do oversight and compliance work on all of the grants that the Office of Employment and Training puts out, which is a pretty wide variety of grants. We create custom monitoring tools for each one of those grant series. We are in the process of creating our CEJA tools right now. We did some of the work on the technical assistance tool that you all saw in the spring and over the course of the last year. You will notice a lot of similarities between that and your programmatic monitoring when it comes time for your programmatic monitorings. But uh, today, I'm just here to kind of talk to you about the programmatic monitoring process. You all heard from Eric Bennett last week regarding fiscal monitoring. Uh, Fiscal monitoring for OET is a pretty general process across different grant series, whereas programmatic monitoring is very specific to each grant series. So, but it does have kind of a set of hallmarks that are consistent across grant series. I'm just here to talk to you about that process today. We won't be getting into the programmatic tool for CEJA. Like I said, we're still kind of working on that. But I can tell you that it'll look quite a bit like your technical assistance. Um, when I get done talking about the process, I'm happy to answer any questions that folks have about programmatic monitoring. So, as Nate said, every grant that OET issues has to be monitored for compliance, both on the program and on the fiscal side. So each grantee will go through at least one monitoring event during each grant award period. Um, we have moved to combined monitoring uh, as a rule. So we do come out both fiscal and program at the same time, and we try and cross streams with our monitoring where we're a little bit integrated in the things that we look at. We will kind of go our own separate ways and look at separate things as well, though. The purpose of this, obviously, is to make sure that everyone is compliant with a number of things. One is the legislation under which your grant was issued. Two, any federal regulations that may apply, the uniform guidance, any state guidance that may apply, and also your set of local policies. So we do monitor your program not only against your grant award, but also any policies that you've created as a condition of that grant. What this does is provide us and you with assurance that your grant systems and your grant activities are all allowable, and that there's no future risk to you of either, losing grant award funds or of any kind of violation of any of the governing regulations. Go ahead, Nate. So already touched on most of this stuff. Um, you know, we always talk about early intervention when we're talking about monitoring. That is what you're seeing with your TA sessions right now. So making sure that you're prepared for monitoring, making sure that everyone's comfortable with all the applicable regulations, with the conditions of your grant agreements, with your scopes of work, make sure that everything's on track so that when we come out, what we're doing is just taking a sample of activities, participants, etc., and checking them for the specific compliance that you have with the conditions and the guidance that you've been given by your grant managers in how you're supposed to serve participants, how you're supposed to interact with your partners, things like that. Um, it is kind of a snapshot. It's just kind of a snapshot in time. Like I said, we take a sample of grant activities and grant participants, and we make sure that that statistically significant sample is, has all of your paperwork in order, that the activities that you're doing with the participants and with your partners are all allowable, and that's it. We have a protocol for how we go about that, and I can kind of talk through that next. Nate, you can move on. Um, First, I'll just to mention again, your lead monitor will be your programmatic monitor. We reach out um, initially and communicate with you about when we're going to monitor, and your monitoring team will consist of your lead monitor, who's your programmatic monitor, and your fiscal monitor. Typically, I'm guessing for the grant sizes that we have, we will probably just work in teams of two, one programmatic monitor and one fiscal monitor, but that may change as we move forward. We may have on the teams, we may have grant managers from CEJA, and also we may, visit with regional administrator in certain cases. Go ahead, Nate. We talked through the purposes of the monitoring. The fact that we've moved to combined monitoring events, we have fiscal and programmatic on the same teams. Um, Most of this stuff actually applies to other grant series. Let me see. Um, yeah, we've talked through all of this. The Eric already addressed the fiscal stuff, so I don't need to go over that. You can go ahead on. So this is what I want to talk through. So this is our protocol for how the monitoring events work. Um, so the first thing that you're going to hear is you're going to get a call from your lead monitor, and we are going to confirm your monitoring dates that we have on our calendar. We're going to make sure that we have all of the principals' names and titles at your organization that need to be addressed or CC'd on your monitoring letter. And that announcement letter will be the next thing that you receive. Just as kind of a general rule of thumb, if you haven't received a grant from DCEO, Office of Employment and Training before, all of our monitorings work the same way. So if you have, you've seen it before and it'll look exactly like it has in the past. Everything begins and ends with a letter and a meeting. Okay. That's just kind of a general way to think about it. So you'll get your announcement letter. When you get your announcement letter, what you're going to see in that letter is a few things that we've already agreed on, which are a date and time for your entrance conference. Your entrance conference is that initial meeting that we use to open up the monitoring. If these are on-site monitorings, it'll likely be at your agency. If we do them virtually, it'll be over WebEx. Your entrance conference is to discuss the logistics of the monitoring to make sure that we have all of our sampled materials in place. Um, we also, in your announcement letter, you're going to see a request for documents. There will be a fiscal request and a programmatic request. Your fiscal request, as I'm sure Eric probably discussed, if he didn't, this will be good information for you. Your fiscal request will be kind of a long list of disbursements, payroll stuff, a long list of things that he's going to need you to upload to a secure folder that we give you a link to. And then from that material, he will pick his sample of, a much smaller list of information, his sample that he's going to monitor. We would do the same thing on the program side. So we're going to ask you for some fiscal materials. It's a shorter list of, or I mean, some programmatic materials. It's a shorter list of programmatic materials than what Eric asked for on the fiscal side. And then from that, we will create our sample also from Illinois WorkNet. We have access directly into the system, and we'll go in there and we'll pick a participant sample as well. And from that material, your internal policies, things like that, we will use those materials in your programmatic review. So after your entrance conference, after we have that initial meeting and we talk through the logistics of the monitoring, we begin monitoring right away. It'll only last a day or two. Most of the work you won't see it be in the background going on. And we conduct that monitoring review. And then we generally do what's called a soft exit, which is we all sit down together again, your agency and our team, and we talk through any observations that we may have on the monitoring side. Observations are issues that we may see, patterns that we may see in either activities or in participant provision of service that are of concern to us. We don't decide at that point what's a finding. We have kind of three levels of results at the end. We have what are called findings, which are, um, uh, I mean, everybody knows what findings are. That's when something that uh, you've done on the programmatic side or on the fiscal side is not allowable, and it's something that needs to be changed or remedied. We have what we call management recommendations, which are, hey, maybe we've seen kind of a concerning pattern of practice or a concerning process that you have in serving participants, and we're going to recommend that you take a look at changing it. And we have areas of concern, which is something kind of in between the two. Okay. So, uh, when we discuss our observations in the soft exit. We haven't really named what's what yet. We just kind of let you know, here's the things that we're seeing. And then we go back through our validation process. We look at the documentation that we've looked at to substantiate any observations that we have. And then we kind of have to make a call. Okay, these things are findings. These things, maybe we can kind of, um, maybe we can kind of call this a management recommendation over here. And then we put all that into a results letter, and we send you that second letter that you receive, which is your results letter from the monitoring. If that has no findings on it, then the monitoring is pretty much just closed at that point. If there are findings in that letter, there will be a set of instructions in the boilerplate of the letter, in the body of the letter, that says that you have 30 days to respond to the letter and include backup documentation to remedy any findings. When we receive that, we take a look at that and say, okay, this checks every box. These findings are remedied, and we will issue another letter that basically says, you're good, and go in peace on your way. And this monitoring is now closed. Uh, so that's kind of our process. We start with um, first outreach and communication to agree on when we're going to do the monitoring. We send you a letter to that effect. You respond with our request for documentation. We have the entrance conference. We do the monitoring. We do a soft exit to discuss our observations. We do what is called an exit conference to discuss what we have judged to be findings, what we have judged to be something else. And then we send you the results letter and you respond, and then we close out the event. And that's kind of the process for a monitoring event, as we call them. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Like I said, we're still working on the specifics and on your CEJA, the tools that we're going to use for your CEJA monitoring. On the program side, everything's pretty rote on the fiscal side, so that's already taken care of. Once we have your CEJA tool um, finished, we can have more specific discussions. But today, if anybody has a question about process, more than happy to answer them.
Thanks, Matt. It looks like we do have one question here from Rebecca. Once final findings are noted and included in a report, what would be the commonly used federal and state regulatory citations?
Well, we will include in any findings that you have a citation of, whatever regulation or policy. It's not always federal regulations or policies. Sometimes it's um, your grant agreement. Sometimes it's something in the state legislation. Sometimes is something in your own policy that we've observed that your actions or your provision of service is, you know, not allowable on. But we'll cite them in your results, and then that way you'll be able to respond specifically.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. So one of the components of, getting your grant established and launched was for you to submit several policies that we need to see that you have on hand. And now part of Matt's job is to make sure that you're following those internal policies. Any other questions about monitoring? What else do we want to know? All right.
Well, I'm here, and Nate, if anybody submits anything to you after the fact, feel free to shoot it to me, and I can answer folks' questions ongoing.
Awesome. Will do. Well, thanks for joining us today, Matt. And
No question.
I'm sure we'll get to know you a little better here in the spring.
Sure. All right.
All right.
Everyone
Thanks.
have a good day. Bye.
Cool. All right. The next thing I wanted to just show real quick. You've probably heard we're working on launching a CEJA website. And we are still, I think, on track to launch that here sometime this month. So I wanted to give you a quick update on where we are with that. And I will just share my screen here. So on your screen, you should see our new homepage for the CEJA website being built on the WorkNet platform. And we haven't launched it yet, so don't go sharing this with everybody. But we want to give you a preview of what we've got going on. See if you have any thoughts, any feedback for us. So this is the website, and real quick about what CEJA is up top. We've got these four links here based on who you are and what kind of information you're looking for. We'll come back to that in just a second. We prominently display this link to find your navigator. You're going to see that like everywhere because we really want to drive as much traffic to the navigator as possible. So then we've got a little section here in the middle that's about CEJA, the goals. Um, and I would imagine that, we're going to be updating some of this text to polish it up and make it look better. Link to the legislation, link to the definition of clean energy job, the equity priorities for the legislation. And then down here, we got the same links that we have up here that kind of customize the sort of the entry to the website based on who you are. So for our students and job seekers, we'll just jump in here this way. And we do provide a link to all the training programs, but like I said, we really want to drive as much traffic through the navigator as possible. So if they're ready to get started in CEJA, they will click on the link to find their navigator. That takes them to this page where they will be able to find all the navigators by location. So Aurora, Chicago, Alton, Carbondale, Danville, Peoria, and then we'll get the new ones on there here pretty soon as we establish those in the system. And if they are let me come back here. Hold on 1 second. Other links on that page, then they can also go out to the IPA equity portal. They can also visit WorkNet. And then if they want to just get a overview of what all the programs are, they'll go to this page and you'll see this pop up again because the other kind of profiles can get to this page as well. And so we'll have the Navigators program, the Hubs program, the Climate Works, returning residents, our FEJA programs, and then a little bit about the CEJA ecosystem, and then again, linking to the navigator to get started. So I'll just show you real quick, like if we jump into, say, the Hubs program, this is going to look very similar to what we had on the navigator page, where we've got kind of an introduction about what these programs are, and then connecting to those programs. So this will be probably more used by employers and contractors, and so I'll show you how to get there from their view. Basically the same thing. So if let's say they're an employer, they will come in here and have kind of a similar jumping off point. They can either go to the equity portal and post a job or find somebody to hire, or they're looking specifically for a training provider, they can jump in here and here's that same page that we were just on where they can select the program that will meet their needs. So I think that's really all I wanted to show at this point and see if anybody had any feedback, any question. Direct link for students to RSVP for CEJA informational sessions held at a navigator site. Trying to think of how that might look. So I'm going to record, I will take that note. I don't think we have any way to do that right now, but I'm thinking that, maybe having us discuss maybe like a shared calendar, like a shared CEJA grantee calendar might look like. Is that kind of what you had in mind, Nadia? going to take a quick note here. And yes, okay, cool. Confirm that. Okay, I'll see what something like that might look like. I'm not a big I don't know a ton about like the tech side of those things, so I'm trying to think through how extensive that would be. But we'll check in with our programmers at WorkNet. Who should we contact? Update the contact information for the hub and navigator. Emily, reach out to your RA, me. Oh, or David. There you go. Yes, perfect. Yeah, just go ahead and copy me on that too, so I can update my side of the records as well. And then I think I saw Jackie Daniel had her hand up. Is that right?
Yeah, hey Nate. I was just gonna offer the suggestion of a calendar that you already.
Oh, the calendar. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, yeah, any other feedback or questions on the website or anything else? This is office hours, so any other questions you might have for us, feel free to fire away. We do have on, let's see, what's today? Tuesday. On Thursday, we are hosting a webinar in partnership with the Illinois Solar Energy Association, and they're inviting some employers in their network to come and talk to our workforce hubs programs that have solar training programs, and start the conversation with some additional employers in that space. So come prepared to ask any questions you might have about how solar employers hire, or when they hire, or kind of the skills that they're looking for, or the trends that they're seeing, or how they're preparing for the changes at the federal level. You should have an invite to that webinar on Thursday, but if you do not, please let us know and we'll send that out to you. Over the fall, you all sent me a slide kind of summarizing your solar training program, and so I'll plan to, in the interest of time, we thought we'd put together a slide, and I'd run through those real quick to kind of introduce our hub programs to the industry, and so I'll run through those, and then we can start chatting with folks in the industry about those questions that you might have. But what else do you got for us today?
Hey, good morning, Nate. This is Abram at the partnership in Chicago. Is there any activity around establishing like a clean energy employer committee or working group by chance?
An employer working group? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
yeah.
Hmm. I don't think there is yet, but that's something we could explore. I'm noting that.
Okay. There's a clean infrastructure workforce convening that meets quarterly. It does a lot of things, but it also brings employers. The consultant that kind of leads it, I mentioned it to her, and she says that the big organizing is around the trades. Because they have really the big employers in that space. But she said that she's working on trying to convene smaller businesses and smaller employers that are in clean energy that aren't necessarily in the trades. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up or lift that up to this group and to the state to let you know that that's something of interest to us and that we'd like to work on in the next few months.
Okay. Is that somebody you might want to introduce us to?
It's Megan Moses. I think Larry has met her. I'm not sure if you come out to one of those quarterly convenings, Nate. But her name is Megan Moses. She's a consultant, and it's the Chicago Workforce Funders Alliance that is leading this quarterly convening.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd be
Cool.
more than happy to introduce and set a meeting if that's desired.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Abram. Yeah, I think that'd be something good to discuss, and I definitely employers and kind of regional sort of collaboration coordination is definitely something we want to turn our attention to in the coming year. So, all
And
right.
kind of along those lines too, we're in the planning process for the follow-up to our summit, and the plan is to kind of organize, I don't know, for lack of a better term, mini summits that are going to occur by region starting in the spring. And the idea there is to kind of follow a similar format to what we did with the summit by bringing together workforce grantees as a part of the CEJA ecosystem, as well as those contractors, developers that are operating within the other CEJA ecosystem grants, like the Equitable Energy Futures and like the Incubator and Accelerator grants. So the idea is to first try to bring together all the various parties already as a part of the ecosystem. And I think it's a great point, Abram, about trying to identify all those other small businesses out there. We do a lot of focus on kind of the large businesses like the Rivians, the Goshens, but trying to identify a lot of the smaller contractors, smaller businesses as well, I think is a great focus. And as you noted, I'm attending those infrastructure meetings, and we like to try to see similar kinds of activities occur across the state so that everybody can benefit from those discussions.
Cool. What else we got? What else are y'all frantically working on before the holiday break? All right. Well, if there are no other questions, we'll let you get back to it, to the holiday rush. I was looking at the calendar, and for some reason, I thought the next session would be January 6th, but it looks like it's actually January 13th. No, I'm wrong. It is January 6th. I think we got off a little bit on the scheduling earlier in the fall, and I think we were resetting on January 6th. So it looks like the next session is on January 6th. So we will not have a session on December 30th. So uh, plan to reconvene right after the first of the year. So appreciate everybody's time today, and have a happy and safe and warm holidays, and we will connect with you in 2026.
Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank
great
you all.
one. Happy holidays.
Happy
Take care.
holidays.
Great day, everybody.